You're listening to Bear Necessities, the podcast all about Coventry Bears Rugby League. Coming up on the show this week, only a blooming away win for the Bears. We've got all the post-match reaction and analysis of our win away to North Wales Crusaders, along with another roar from the Bears community, another question for Mr. C, a look ahead to this weekend's trip to Oxford, and a reminder of how you can win some signed Toronto Wolfpack merch. Here we go. Yes, welcome to this week's Bear Necessities. I'm one of your hosts, Dave Musson, and you can subscribe to us in Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, and on YouTube. And you can follow us on Twitter, where we're at Bears Podcast. Joining me, as always, is my very happy co-host, Mr. Craig Cathcart. Craig, did you enjoy your trip to North Wales at the weekend to watch the Bears?
Yeah, absolutely, Dave. It was absolutely brilliant. First away win of the season. First game where the Bears put performance together for 80 minutes. So yeah, absolutely chuffed to bits. It was a really good day, apart from the very cold and wet weather. But yeah, aside from that, it was great.
Yeah, summer has definitely ended weather-wise, I think.
Yeah.
So let's go whiz through the story of the game. So Bears started off a little bit under the cosh, had to show their defensive chops, which they did, and this is a theme of the match really, that the Bears were strong in defence. They made a decent start, defended well for the first 10 minutes, and it was Bears who actually broke the deadlock. Jamal intercepting and running the length of the field. That was just after a quarter of an hour. That put the Bears 4-0 up. Shortly followed by another try by the Bears after 20 minutes. That took it to 8-0 with an excellent conversion from the touchline from Paul Emanuele. And the Bears kept going. They had to do more and more defending in the first half. And North Wales did get a try back. 27 minutes they did score and convert it. But again, the Bears were playing well. And they did manage to score again before the break. Brilliant play from Brad Delaney. He gathered his own kick and ran 60 yards to score, and Emanuele added the extras. So half-time 16-6. Brilliant stuff from the Bears. I was watching this on Twitter and feeling a combination of excited and nervous, remembering what happened at All Golds. And for a moment there, it did look like it was going to be the same old story, because North Wales did score a couple of tries. They got it back to 16 all. But Bears hit back, and Sam Davis on his debut put the Bears 20 points to 16 ahead on 52 minutes. Brad Delaney added the extras. That took it to 22-16, which is actually how it finished. The Bears had to defend very hard for the remainder of the game. There was a missed drop goal attempt from Emanuele, and by the sounds of it from your notes, Craig, it sounded a bit tense at the end there, but the Bears hung on. They got the win, the first away win of the season, and this is what head coach Tom Sang made of it all.
Hello, Tom. So I'm absolutely delighted to say we got an away win on the board against one of the better teams in the division. So I'll just let you speak.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I've got to give our lads a load of credit and a load of praise for the defensive work they did throughout the first half in particular, and then the back end of the second half. I think we were really, really good value for the lead we had at half time. There was a period of time when we had defended 4 sets on line, and the opposition didn't look like scoring at all. The guys were just working really, really hard. And in previous games, you could see there was a little bit of panic, and individuals were making decisions to try and fix things on their own. But you could see they were all working together as a unit today. Really, really good team performance, particularly defensively. I thought the tries that we scored in the first half were from breakaways, but it was our defensive pressure that made Crusaders break down with the ball, and we were good enough to then capitalise. And that was sort of what happened in the second half as well. Defensively, we just kept turning up, we kept doing the right things, and ultimately, obviously, got the win. So very, very happy.
Yeah, and I guess there was a tough period just after half time, but the last 20 minutes, I mean, the defence was just superb in that last 20 minutes, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. They came out strong, which we spoke about at half time, that they would come out strong and trying to get back into the game, which they did. Unfortunately, obviously, we weren't able to keep them out, but we freshened up a little bit with a couple of changes, and we managed to then get momentum back. And then from then on, it was just a case of showing some character, really digging in and making sure that we weren't going to throw away the hard work that we did in the first 15 minutes, as in all honesty, like we have done in the past, and the guys were really determined not to let that happen again, and obviously managed to get through to the win.
And there was some really good performances across the whole of the team today. I was quite impressed with a couple of the new lads that started today. One of them got a try on their debut, and they really fitted in well, didn't they?
Yeah. So the two lads that we got on loan from London Broncos, Sam Davis is only 17. Playing his first game at League One, and Jacob Jones, second row, also just 18, playing his first game at this level, and both of them really applied themselves really well. They've been training the last 2 weeks, 2 or 3 weeks, and they've just been like top class attitudes. So it was due that they got an opportunity, and they didn't disappoint anyone. They really worked really hard. But I thought across the board, all 17 players and also the 18th man who came with us, every single player deserves a pat on the back and has contributed to the win. I thought Jamal Hunt on the wing was brilliant under the high ball. They targeted clearly. They put probably 8 or 9 high bombs to his side, and he just took them all with ease. I thought Jason Bass on the same side in the centre was excellent with the ball and got through a load of work carrying. Our middle unit, all of them put their hand up to take the ball forward. But the main positive for me was defensively we were just much better than we have been for a longer period of the game than we have been in the past. So I'm very happy about it.
And you mentioned the middle unit. Defensively in the middle, the Bears were just superb today. It meant that Crusaders made loads of mistakes, dropped the ball several times. I know the conditions were a bit, there was quite a greasy surface, but the middle defence was just superb, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And what we talk about, our middles have a really big job to do. When the opposition is spreading the ball to the edges of the field, the guys in the middle have to work really hard to fill the space on the inside of the ball, because if they don't do that, then it allows the attacking team to square up and create space on the outside. And they really worked hard from the inside to make sure that there was nothing from that side of the field, which allowed our edge defence just to slide off and put pressure on the ball carriers, and that's where the errors came from. So, yeah, they dropped a lot of ball, but I really feel it's because defensively we really turned up to work hard and were aggressive.
And I think another thing today was just the calm heads from everyone. Everyone seemed confident today and stuck it out. I mean, there's been 1 or 2 results this season where Bears probably should have won, but today was one where everyone just kept calm and knew they had a job to do, and they did it.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's something that we spoke about it when there was a bit of a break with 10 minutes to go, and it wasn't about sort of holding on for the win. It was about being confident that we would go to the end of the game and retain the win, if not push on. And the guys really bought into that, and credit to them, because the way the season's gone before, with at least probably 4 or 5 games that we've lost in the last 15 minutes, it's very easy to get into that mindset where it's going to happen again. And the guys were just really mentally strong today, and there was a really strong feeling on the touchline that we were confident we were going to go away with the win.
As I said, Tom, I'm absolutely chuffed to bits with the performance today. It's a game against Oxford next week. I'm hoping that the Bears can follow up this brilliant result with a win again away at Oxford next week.
Yeah, we've just enjoyed ourselves in the changing room, sort of having a bit of a discussion about what has happened. We have said, though, we need to make sure that we back it up with Oxford next week and South Wales the week after. It's great to enjoy the hard work that we put in today, but it makes it less meaningful if we don't then back it up in the next 2 games. So we're going to be making sure that we do everything we can do to make that happen.
Thanks, Tom, and congratulations on the win. As I said, I can't say enough how happy I am with it. Thank you.
Me too. Thanks very much. Cheers.
So you could probably tell just from their voices that both Craig and Tom were smiling in that interview. Craig, lots to smile about. An away win, and a pretty good one by the sounds of it.
And a good one against a very good team who have had the odd result this season that probably hasn't gone their way, but on the whole, they've put up very strong performances against some of the better teams in the division. And they were at the start of the Shield competition probably favourites to reach the final in the Shield. So
The very first episode of this podcast was recorded after a Bears defeat to North Wales, and we were commenting on how strong they looked. So it's great to see that the Bears have been able to turn it around and get a win.
And not only that, the pleasing thing was it was a really controlled win from the Bears. They controlled the game. They didn't let Crusaders into the match at all. In fact, it was Crusaders who were making all the mistakes. The Bears' line defense was really, really good, getting in Crusaders' faces and making them drop passes. The kick chases as well from Bears meant that Crusaders didn't get any joy returning the ball either. And all round, it was just a fantastic performance. As I said, it was nervous at the end, but actually we were only nervous really because we so much wanted the Bears to win and get the win and the performance deserved. Because, as you said, we've been at that point a few times this season where the Bears looked like they were going to go on and win, and something, it's not quite happened. So, everyone was absolutely delighted. I mean, the team came off the field to cheers from the Bears fans that were there, and actually really good sporting, from the Crusaders fans as well who clapped them off. So, it was just a brilliant day all round, and actually a full team performance. Absolutely everyone in the team contributed. It was fantastic from the two young guys. Sam Davis getting a try on his debut, but not only that, it turned out to be the winning try. This is a young lad, 17 years old, who's never played in League One before, and he didn't look overawed at all. Some of the ever-presence in the Bears side this season, and last season, they really put in, a full performance, full 80 minutes. Kieran Sherritt was excellent. Zach Williams, as he has been recently, just Mr. Reliable and ever-present. Also, Jason Bass as well. Him and Kieran, I think, came back from the Rugby League, Student Rugby League World Cup, looking probably a little bit tired, but they've really finished strongly at the end of the season. And the usual suspects, Brad Delaney, Jamal Hunt again was absolutely excellent. But yeah, I'm really enjoying watching Paul Emanuele in this side. He's starting to make a real difference now. He's just, he leads the team around the field. He's constantly talking. He makes clever decisions. He's a fantastic player, and hopefully we'll see him at the Bears next year.
So from the sounds of it, it almost sounds like we've got a full house in terms of, we've talked on this podcast many times about how good Bears look in attack, and it sounds like they took their tries well. But the defence held firm and defended well for an entire game. We've got the Broncos link up with the young players starting to pay off. We've got the experienced heads of people like Paul Emanuele bossing the game and leading the team around. It sounds like the full package. So no surprise that, as you may have seen on Twitter, that the Bears are the League One Shield Team of the Week as well. So sounds like it's fully deserved.
It's fantastic, yeah. I mean, I couldn't fault the performance at all. They were up against it at the start of the second half. The Crusaders scored 2 tries quite quickly. Both well taken tries. But actually, as I said, the Bears throughout they punished Crusaders for their mistakes and controlled the game really. And as you said, they had really well taken tries. And showed a lot of pace going forward. And again, a theme of what we've seen in the recent weeks, Matt Reid on his side of the field, he made lots of yards again. But yeah, some really brilliant performances all around, really. It was great to see the team put it together for 80 minutes. We've said all season that for 20-minute periods, the Bears look absolutely fantastic, and then somehow, due to confidence or other issues, they let it slip. But yesterday, they just, they held on and did brilliantly.
Great stuff, and it bodes well for this weekend's visit to Oxford, which we will of course talk about a bit more later in the show. For the benefit of our listeners, just in case you haven't caught up on the other results from League One this weekend, so aside from, let's say it again, the Bears' 22-16 win away to North Wales, in the Shield it was as follows. So the Scholars beat Hemel 42-22, Hunslet beat South Wales 24-7, and All Golds lost 12-18 at home to Oxford, which basically ties up Scholars and Hunslet as the two teams in the League One Shield final, I think barring some very, very big point swings. And in the Super 8s, Toronto beat Whitehaven 36-18, York and Doncaster drew 21-all, Keighley lost 34-8 at Newcastle, and Barrow beat Workington 36-14. So that basically means that Toronto and Barrow are already confirmed in at least the playoffs. Whitehaven are in the playoffs, and then it's essentially between York and Doncaster for that final playoff place. Right, time for another roar from the Bears community, this time from one of our younger fans. This is Harrison.
Harrison Collier, one of the ball boys for Cov Bears, one of the most vocal people for Cov Bears. I've been volunteering for the Bears for 3 years, and I've played for them for 2. My favourite player is of course going to be Jamal Hunt, because he took me from being someone with no confidence, he brought me up to massive confidence to go on the field and give it stacks of referees. I think the best match I've ever seen was away against North Wales Crusaders last year. Jammer scored a full field try, and then Joel James, he scored a 50 metre penalty out to win the game, and it was pretty good on the bus back.
So thanks to Harrison for giving us his roar there. If you want to have your roar heard on this podcast, then just get in touch at Cov Bears Podcast, let us know, and we will find you at a game, and we will record you. Or you can record it yourself and send it in, and we'll get you on this show. We want more of your voices on this podcast. And another thing we want more of is more questions for my co-host Craig using the hashtag AskMrC. So Craig, we've only had one this week. It comes from at All Games Hate Me, and they say, I know live streams aren't really an option, but how about a fan radio for games? You two, and for clarity, that's me and you, Craig. He says you two would do a great job. So what do you think to that?
Well,
live commentary.
That's good to hear. I'm not quite sure I'm cut out for live commentary, but I'd probably be willing to give it a go. My only thoughts on it is that I enjoy just watching the game and watching it as a fan and being able to shout and tell the referee off for making dodgy decisions and so on. So whether or not commentating would fit in with that, I don't know. But it's something possibly I'd try in the future. I
think fan radio we could probably get away with abusing the officials. I mean, to let listeners in behind the curtain, and I hope, Craig, you don't mind me saying this, but I know you first couple of episodes you were a little unsure on listening back to your own voice when you listen to the episodes. How are you feeling about that now we're 8 episodes in?
I'm getting a bit more comfortable with it. I was very much new to this whole thing, but I've been really enjoying it, and I've met some really, really cool people as well, and we've had some really brilliant feedback as well on how we've been doing. So, and I'm glad that people are listening to the show and enjoying it. So, let's keep it up, and as I said, possibly in the future we'll see what happens. Yeah. So that's a TBC at All Games Hate Me on the fan radio. If you've got a question for Craig, then of course tweet it to us, tweet it to @CovBearsPodcast, use the hashtag AskMrC. You can ask him anything. Of course, Craig used to play for the Bears. He scored a hat-trick in the Bears' first ever game, as long-time listeners of the show will know. So you can ask him stuff about the game, you can ask him stuff about off-field stuff, pretty much anything goes. That's right, isn't it, Craig? Yeah, we've had dating questions, we've had all sorts in the last few weeks. Ducks, what was it, horse-sized ducks? Yeah, all sorts. So, anything goes, within reason, obviously.
Be as creative as possible and tweet them to us. Okay, it's almost time for us to go, but not before we check off a couple of important things. So we're going to look ahead to this weekend's trip even to Oxford in a moment. But first, don't forget to enter our competition. So courtesy of our friends from the Wolfcast Toronto, we have a Toronto Wolfpack scarf that's been signed by the entire squad to give away to one of you. Now, to win, all you have to do is email covbearspodcast@gmail.com and tell us the name of the Wolfpack's home stadium. It's that easy, so you should definitely get in touch. And Craig, the scarf really is a thing of beauty, isn't it?
Yeah, it was it was really, really good to get given that. It's one of those things. I think it's a bit of history as well. I mean, who knows what's going to happen with the Wolfpack, but things like signed scarves are a brilliant bit of memorabilia for people to own going forward, and signed by the whole squad.
And of course, if you want to find out more about the Wolfpack and particularly about Wolfcast Toronto, and you haven't listened to last week's special episode yet, then I urge you to go and check that out. We sat down with the guys from Wolfcast Toronto a couple of weeks ago when they were on their UK tour. We recorded a special episode of Bare Necessities. It was a really fun thing to do, and I think it's a pretty fun listen as well. So do go back and listen to that, and you can hear which one out of me and Craig shows to have a slightly better knowledge of Toronto than the other, although it was very much the look of the draw on the questions. So Definitely. Anyway, let's move on to this weekend's matters, and another away match, this time away to Oxford, and a chance actually, if Bears win, they can move within a point of Oxford going into the final weekend of the season then, which is pretty big. Craig, I know you're going to be predicting a Bears win because you always predict a Bears win, but do you feel like it's an even more realistic prediction given what happened in North Wales at the weekend?
It is, and if I hadn't known what the Oxford result was, then I would have said dead set the Bears are going to win that. But Oxford themselves won. They've had a poor run of form. They've really struggled on the road in particular over the last few weeks, and had some really whopping defeats. But they won last weekend too. They'll be looking at the Bears coming down to them and trying to put a back-to-back wins on the board. It's really important for the Bears to try and back up what they did against Crusaders and get a second win on the board and the first back-to-back wins. And it would be brilliant to get to follow on from the first away win and get a second one and set up the final game nicely. I was slightly concerned. I didn't think for 1 minute the Bears would finish bottom of the league, but I was slightly concerned that they might be in a position going into the last couple of games where, they could finish bottom. A win against Oxford would pretty much mean that's, not going to happen. And, they've got to try and overtake Oxford as well and finish as high in the table as possible. If they put in a performance like they did against Crusaders, then I'm convinced the Bears will win. But it'll be a tight one, I'd say.
Yeah, and this is a game that we talked about right at the start of the Shield part of the season. We looked at this one, and when we were trying to pick out where we thought Bears might get a few wins in the Shield part of the season, we did look at this one and think it was doable. Probably not expecting to be going into it with a win from North Wales, if we're being entirely honest.
Yeah.
But Bears have beaten Oxford already this season. So yeah, I'm feeling good about it as well. I think I have a feeling it will probably be close because they always seem to be close. And I know when we previewed the Shield part of the season, it's a pretty 50-50 split in terms of Bears and Oxford wins. But no, I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good about the rest of the season. I think a very not wanting to get ahead of ourselves, but I think a very real chance of the Bears ending the season with 3 wins. And as a sort of pre-season, that could be massive as well, particularly if we can keep this squad of players together for the start of next year.
And I think that's a really crucial thing. You really don't want to be ending the season on a low where you have a bad run of results. Finishing the season on a high sets things up brilliantly for next year, and also, it's a chance for the Bears to, to turn around their season a little bit. It hasn't always been the best season on the pitch, but if they were to get 3 wins, 3 back-to-back wins, then that shows that the potential in the squad is there. So
definitely. Well, we'll keep our fingers crossed that this time next week we will be talking again about a second Bears away win. And other than that, well, I guess thanks as always for your time, Craig, and have a good week.
It's been a pleasure as always, Dave. Thank you.
Bare Necessities is a podcast about the Coventry Bears. It's an independent show, but it wouldn't be possible without the support and the encouragement of the club. So huge thanks to everyone at the Bears for helping us out. Come and say hi to us on Twitter, where we're at CovBearsPodcast. Tweet Craig your questions using hashtag AskMrC, and let us know if you want to have your roar heard. Don't forget to subscribe to the show in Apple Podcasts, Stitcher or wherever else. And if you like the show, leave us a rating or review and spread the word to anyone else who loves the Bears. Bare Necessities is brought to you by me, Dave Musson, and Craig Cathcart, and our theme music is by my band Wave. See you next time.